Strong-willed children who argue about everything are sending parents to the internet every single day looking for ways to make it stop. And the most important thing that you're going to learn today is that stopping it is the exact wrong goal. Now, if you have a child anywhere between ages 2 and 7 who debates your rules, challenges your authority, seems to need the last word on absolutely everything, or if you've ever been genuinely stung by something your child said and felt the heat rise in your chest, wondering where you went wrong, this video is for you. Because every day you read this behavior as disrespect is another day that you're pouring your energy into fighting a battle that isn't actually happening. In my practice, I work with families navigating exactly this every day. And here's what I know. Once you understand what's really driving the arguing, the frustration shifts, not because the behavior changes immediately, but because what you're looking at changes completely. And if you stay until the end, I'll give you the specific language to use in the moment, words that validate your child's thinking and hold your boundary at the exact same time. You probably think a child who argues about everything is a child who needs stronger limits, a firmer parent, more consistency, better follow through. Here's what's actually happening. A child who argues about everything is building exactly the cognitive architecture that they will need for every challenging situation that they'll face in the rest of their lives. This is what I call the pre-operational push, the developmental engine that Jean Piaget identified in his foundational research on how children's minds develop. The pre-operational stage spans from about age 2 all the way up to about age 7, and its defining feature is this: children's brains are actively collecting rules, testing limits, and checking whether principles hold up across different situations. Here's the visceral version. Think of your child's brain as a scientist who has just been handed a new hypothesis. The only way to test whether the hypothesis is true is to run experiments. Every no, every but why, every ownership argument your child launches, that is an experiment, and you are the data. At 2 and 3, the experiment sounds like no and mine. They're testing the edges of their power. At 4 and 5, it's but why. They're building a mental catalog of how things work. At 6 and 7, it sounds like actual arguments, logic, rules about ownership, challenges that can genuinely sting. The words get more sophisticated as children move through the stages. The underlying driver is identical at every stage. And here's what Piaget's research tells us these experiments are building: critical thinking, self-advocacy, and the ability to find a rule and apply it across multiple situations. The attributes that you're going to want your child to have in every classroom, career, and relationship you'll ever have. And here's what those experiments are actually building, because this is the part that surprises most parents. And I want to show you exactly what it looks like. You probably think a child who tells you the car isn't yours because you didn't pay for it is being deliberately disrespectful. But here's what's actually happening. Her brain found a rule: payment equals ownership, and tested whether that rule held up across 2 different categories: for the car, then the house, and then its pattern recognition. That's the developing brain doing something genuinely sophisticated. I see this pattern constantly in my practice. Parents come in describing these moments: a child at the top of their pre-operational stage who sounds in the car or at the kitchen table like a small property lawyer, confident, pointed, logical. The tone alone can be enough to make a parent go still with frustration, or honestly, with something that feels almost like being impressed. So here's what Piaget would tell you is actually happening. A child who takes a rule and applies it across 2 different contexts is not performing disrespect. She's performing one of the most sophisticated cognitive operations available to her developing brain. She's generalizing. So that is what the end of the pre-operational stage looks like when a child's development is going exactly right. If your child is 2 or 3, you're hearing the same developmental driver in different language: no and mine instead of property law. It's the same engine. The experiment just gets more sophisticated as children move through the stages. Now, if you've ever been genuinely impressed by something that your toddler said mid-argument, good. You should have then, and I'll tell you exactly why that instinct is right. You probably think a child who fights you on every limit, who argues until there's simply nothing left to argue, who seems to need the last word on everything, is a child who's trying to beat you. Here's what's actually happened. She's practicing self advocacy and she's doing it with the safest person she knows, you. Think about what arguing a position actually requires: knowing what you want, being able to put it into words, and holding your ground when you meet resistance instead of immediately folding. Those are not traits to eliminate. Those are traits that protect children from peer pressure, from situations where they need to say, "That's not okay with me," from adults who don't have their best interests in mind. When your child is pushing back on a rule, she's building the exact same muscle that she will one day use to walk away from something that is genuinely not right for her. And here's the hard truth that most parenting advice skips entirely. A child who is successfully trained not to argue at home sometimes doesn't know how to argue when she needs to. The goal is not to stop her from pushing back. The goal is to teach her how to do it within appropriate limits, which is exactly what we'll get into next. But first, one of the things that I go deep into in my free workshop is the third C in my 5 C's framework: choices and checkpoints. And the specific insight that changes everything for parents of strong willed children is this: the arguing isn't a problem to eliminate, it's energy to redirect. I walk through exactly how to do it at every stage with specific language for 2-year-olds and for 7-year-olds. And if you want the full framework, I'll link to it in the workshop below at drlindsay.com/workshop. Now back to it. You probably think a child who does something different from what you specifically told her to do is defying you. Here's what's actually happening. And I see this pattern repeatedly in the families that I work with. She is evaluating your instructions, identifying a more efficient solution, and implementing it. That is problem solving. That is initiative. Those are qualities that people spend decades trying to develop as adults. Here's a version that I hear from parents regularly. A parent gives her daughter specific instructions for cleaning her room, including exactly where to put a particular toy basket. When she checks in later, her daughter isn't done yet, and the basket isn't where she was told to put it. The first reaction is frustration. That reads like defiance. But this parent caught herself. She looked at the new location and she realized that actually was better. Her daughter hadn't defied her instructions, she evaluated it and found a more efficient solution. Children in the preoperational stage are not fully logical, but they are curious, creative, and deeply motivated to test whether there's a better way. The child who moves the toy basket without being asked is the same child who will one day ask at a meeting, "What if we tried it this way instead?" Now, that's not something that you want to train out of a child. That's something that you want to channel. So here's the question that actually matters. And I'm going to give you the exact answers in the next section. What do you say in the moment when the preoperational push is happening right in front of you? You probably think that when your child argues, your only choices are to give in or shut it down. Here's what's actually true. There's a third option, and it's the one that works across the entire preoperational stage, whether your child is 2 or 7. The first shift is swapping the word but for and. Most parents respond to an argument with, "I hear you, but that's the rule." The word but signals that everything before it didn't count. It creates opposition, it escalates. "Try this instead." "I hear you," and the answer is still no. The "and" validates their thinking while holding the boundary. You're not conceding, you're not backing down, but you're not dismissing their reasoning. And that's the difference between a child who escalates and a child who eventually accepts no. Now, the second shift is offering option A or option B instead of engaging with the debate. When a child argues the rule, there's almost always a legitimate want underneath the argument: more say, more control, more acknowledgement that their thinking counts. Rather than debating, redirect that energy towards a real choice. You can do this now, or you can do it after dinner. Which works best for you? She gets to make a real decision. You still hold the boundary, The argument stops having a target. Here's what to expect when you start. Day one, she may test it. The arguing might actually escalate briefly because she's checking whether the new response is real. Days 3 to 5, you'll notice she's responding to the and response, and the pattern de escalates faster. By weeks 2 to 3, the dynamics shift. She's not arguing less, she's learning to advocate within limits. And if you've been doing neither of these, completely understandable. These tools weren't given to most of us. You're getting them now. 6 months from now, your child comes home from school and starts an argument about a rule or a limit or something she doesn't think is fair. The old version of you would have felt that familiar tightening, the heat rising, the brace for impact. But something different happens. You recognize it. She's doing the pre-operational push. She's testing the rules. She's building something. And when you say, I hear you, and the answer is still no. She pauses. She doesn't explode. She says, fine, and walks away. Not because she stopped caring, because she's learned that advocating within limits works and arguing at you doesn't. And later at dinner, she tells you about something that happened at school, something she pushed back against, something that she held her ground on because she knew how. That moment isn't just behavior management, that's trust. That's the relationship you've been building, one argument at a time. The strong willed child who argues about everything, the one who tells you that the car isn't yours, who needs to have the last word, and who moves the toy basket to a better spot without asking. She's not working against you, she's building exactly what you need her to have. And you are exactly the parent she needs to build it with. Now, at my free workshop at drlindsay.com/workshop, I walk parents through the complete 5 C's framework, including the choices and checkpoints tools that give you a specific system for responding to your child's behavior with confidence every single time. The third C, choices and checkpoints, is where everything in this video goes deeper. And it's where parents of strong willed children tell me the biggest shifts happen. And if this video resonated, if you've been out argued by your toddler or young child and caught yourself being genuinely impressed, comment saying below. I read every single comment. And if what you're seeing in your strong willed child has you wondering whether there's something more going on beneath the surface, make sure that you check out my video on early signs of ADHD in children, because the line between strong willed and ADHD is something most parents need help understanding. And knowing the difference changes your entire approach. Keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey.